right. Hello, everyone. This is Donna Tornoe, your host, and today I have James Kliesen from Colorado, and he is a VSO, and he's going to tell us uh, what it takes to apply and what a VSO is and what the process is. He's looking for veterans, Panama veterans who live in Colorado that he can help. So if you live in Colorado and you have a disease and you were in Panama, go see James. Welcome, James. James, tell us a little bit about where you're located and what you do as a VSO and what you did in Panama and the whole shebang.
Well, I'm located in eastern Colorado in a rural county. I'm the VSO for this county. I'm appointed by the commissioners. I actually work for them, and I do not work for the state, even though we're with Department of Veteran Affairs for Colorado. What would I say? The VSOs, what are above me, they work for the state, and they are advisors. They're not our bosses, they're advisors. And concerning Panama, I went down there in September of 72 and left in March of 74. I was a field medic, 91 Bravo 20, and my unit was based at Clayton, and I'd done a lot of work at Sherman and Gulick and a little bit at Davis. But I did spend quite a bit of time at Sherman with that jungle school, that jungle operations training center. And also, but like I said, I spent a lot of time at Sherman. We run a dispensary over there, and also we covered as medics at JOTC. And then we spent a lot of time, or I did, at Gulick with School of Americas. And I spent some time at Davis, but not a lot. And that was your place. And like I said, I was based out of Clayton, but I tried to stay away from my unit as much as possible if I could.
Now, would you make daily trips over from Clayton over to Fort Sherman to work?
Well, it depended. We called them commitments, how long we were committed for. And they might need us for 2 weeks, or, well, like when you're running the dispensary, you're over there for 2 months at Sherman. And then on commitments, we'd usually come over for a week or two. And then sometimes we'd have like a 1-day commitment. We'd leave the night before and spend the night, at whatever place we're supposed to be, and then get up and just cover their training as a medic.
Did you have a lot of people that got injured during jungle operations training?
No, not really. You had people injured just because it's training and it's fairly hard training. But most of these people, the Americans, were in very good shape. Now, no offense to the School of America, we always thought they didn't want anyone hurt, so they were kind of babied.
Now, you told me that you got to do some of the operations out there at jungle operations training while you were waiting around for something to happen.
Well, yeah, they have the training, and, you're just kind of sitting around, it's kind of observing. And sometimes I'd like to get in on some of the things they're doing. An example would be like rappelling. Out there somewhere on Sherman, there was a 110-foot waterfall, and they asked me, they said, "Doc, you want in on this?" And I said, "You bet." I think I've done it 3 or 4 times. And it's just, I didn't have to put up with the hard training, but I enjoyed that sort of stuff.
Okay.
We had a,
cool.
We had a, I can remember his name is Sergeant First Class Anderson. And he was an instructor of JOTC. And he would show people how to kill an animal silently. He would stick the chicken head, a live chicken, in his mouth and rip its head off. It's an attention giver.
I bet. Did he do that over and over with each class?
Yeah, but they only done it once every 2 weeks or whatever. I mean, but anyway, he was a lot of that cadre were ex-special forces and stuff, and
guys.
They really were pretty professional.
Right. Well, that's good. That's what we need, for training everyone. Now, James, when somebody comes to a VSO and you're not, and the place is not on the list, I want to tell everyone that you should not file for presumptive connection to your disease and the fact that 2,4-D and 2,4,5-T, aka Agent Orange, was in Panama. You should file for direct exposure to chemicals in Panama, and there were many. 2,4-D and 2,4,5-T, we have the shipping records for, and that has dioxin in it and lasts, up to 100 years in the soil. So you certainly should apply. But unfortunately, when the Panama veterans go to VSOs, they're turned away because we're not on the list. So what should they do?
Well, like you said, come in and first of all, you present yourself to a VSO, but also tell them what problems you have. And with me, I would go the route you just said, because I learned from experience. Don't ever mention Agent Orange or things like that. You just mention herbicides you're exposed to. And try to get a claim in there for them and tell them, says, this may not fly, but we're going to give it the best shot.
Right, and that's because you are also a Panama veteran, and you had a claim in that got denied, didn't you?
Yes, they denied it. And basically what they said is the stuff was not down there. And, it's very frustrating to see evidence that it was shipped down there, it was stored down there, it was used down there. And you could see everybody, lots of spraying going on, but you didn't pay any attention. But it's frustrating to deal with the VA when they said, it's not down there. We don't care what evidence you present, it is still not down there.
Right.
And it's hard to deal with that.
It is. It's very frustrating. And veterans are just not getting due process. My husband's case is going on 8 years now. I'm helping him with his case. And in the beginning, I'd go to the mailbox every day to look, and then every week and every month and every year. And now I don't even bother because they just are ignoring the Panama veterans. So I'm glad that you're a VSO, James, and excuse me, a VSO, James, and perhaps you can help educate the VSOs across the country that Panama veterans are hurting out there and they need help.
That's what I'm hoping to do. Some of them don't want to hear it. It's kind of like typical public, and other ones are interested. And those are the ones I'm trying to reach. All I'm trying to do is educate people. It's kind of like me as a VSO. If I don't know anything, I can't help anyone. So I want to pass the word on that, hey, there is a problem out there, and be aware of it. Maybe you can't do much about it, but don't tell some guy that his claim will go nowhere. Try to find a way around it to get it in, and hopefully you'll get benefits.
Thank you very much for that, James. And I think I was talking to you earlier, about a lot of times veterans tell me that their claim got closed and they didn't even know it. They didn't get any communication from the VA. The VA said they sent a letter, but they just never got it. Maybe they moved, or maybe they just didn't get it. That got lost in the mail. Is there a phone number or something that they can call and get that information?
Yes. Well, I talked to you earlier about a phone number. Do you still have that?
Yeah, I'll run that down here on the bottom so that people can call this phone number that James gave me earlier.
We call it the VSO hotline, but it's actually for all veterans that to check on their claims. They can call that phone number. And, naturally it's the VA, and this part of it is very accommodating, that you have to give your information to show that you are the veteran. Or like me, if I'm calling, I have to, show who I'm with, and, that I'm authorized to receive that information. But like I said, they answer the phone fairly quick.
Wow.
They can answer your questions concerning your claim, the status of it. And then also you can check on My Healthy Vet, and you can check your claim on there. If you just kind of go to benefits, and it'll get you down to where you can check on your claim, but it's going to want your information, but it can tell you there also.
Is that e-benefits? Is that what you're talking about?
Right. Healthy Vet is basically e-benefits, but also you can check on your appointments and your lab tests and everything.
Okay, once you get hooked up, we will, yeah, we'll get this number out there to veterans. So if you have a claim in there, James says you can call this number and tell them who you are and tell them you have a claim in there, and they'll look into it. So, check on it every 30 days at least. So in case they send out a letter and you didn't get it, you're going to, be able to solve that problem.
Well, I like to think the VA is getting better. I mean, there's a lot of money being sent to the VA, so they should supply some pretty good service. And like I said, they are getting better about it, and they seem like friendlier.
Right.
When,
the only
when you
problem,
get through to them.
I'm sorry, I cut you off.
Oh, I said they're a lot friendlier nowadays. If and when you get through to them, some of them, like community care, will drive you crazy because you might sit there for an hour or two on the phone. But VBA, which is Veteran Benefits, they seem to be better, and I'm hoping that a lot of people that have these claims, they'll be, how would I say, settled. Because now, go ahead.
Oh, I have a question for you that you might know the answer to, James. I have a veteran that he won 80% for Panama. One of the very few veterans that won. And he has heart disease and all kinds of other stuff. He should get 100%, but he got 80% because, the way they rate things is pretty weird. But you don't have to answer that. But from what I see, the way they multiply things times each other and give the veteran less than they deserve is crazy, since they have supercomputers of today that could make that 72% or whatever the heck it should be. But at any rate, he was wondering, he got a letter about applying for Guam and Thailand, because now that they've both been passed in the PACT Act, he was in both of those places as well as Panama. He was in Panama longer, and he did win for 80% exposed to herbicides in Panama. So should he now file for that other 20% with Guam and Thailand?
Well, no, I see the VA will not let you pyramid on a claim.
Oh.
He's already got one claim. Now, if it's a different disease or whatever, yeah, he could. But he can't.
So if he had something else and he hadn't claimed it for Panama, he could claim that other disease now for Guam or Thailand.
Yes.
Okay.
It would have to be one of the presumptives, but right. I'm surprised that this guy got 80% for Panama. That's almost incidental.
Well, yeah, we have had 4 people win for Panama for exposure to herbicides, and I think one of them, or maybe a couple of them, said Agent Orange. So there is no difference between commercial and tactical herbicides. I will swear to that, and I have documents to prove that. If people want to read my blogs that I post, or go to the Travels of Orange YouTube channel and watch the videos. It's their documents. It's not something I made up, but unfortunately, it's preventing Panama veterans from having an easy pathway forward. So Panama veterans really should have a claim in right now if you have a disease that's on the list that's you can connect to the Agent Orange Act of 1991, which is, AKA Agent Orange. James, isn't it true the VA can make any rules they want? So even if
they're not supposed to. They're Congress basically sets the parameters what they set in. but
Okay,
also it becomes an excuse why they're not doing something. If
okay,
they don't want to do something, it's kind of like most government things, the old catch-22, they'll find something to let them get around it.
snafu.
Yeah, you're right. But nowadays, like I said, I think the VA has lots of money, and they're hiring more and more employees. And well, it's kind of sad, but the Panama veteran does not have the presumption. He has to come up with the exposure and also the next, show that nexus that he was down there, he was exposed to it, and they'll consider it.
Or not. Right. But everyone, don't give up. You can win at the appeals board. You can't win at the regional level. You just can't. It's sad, but you're not getting due process because we're not on the list. Panama's not on the list. When I say we, I'm talking for veterans. I'm not talking for myself. I'm fighting for my husband. That's what I started off with. And now I'm fighting for all of you because it's true for everyone. And Dr. Dvorinchuk, who edited my book and I wrote about on my blogs also, he is the Agent Orange expert of the world. And he's the guy who found the dioxin in Vietnam. And, he said that if they used this stuff for vegetation management, then we were exposed.
Yeah, and going by what you're showing in your research, I think about everybody who's in Panama was exposed to this stuff. And well, the government does not want to admit to it because you're not talking about just American GIs, but you're talking about civilians that work there and the dependents, and also lots of international students come from through the School of America, and they weren't in the classroom all the time; they were out in the jungle.
Right. I think that's probably why that we are not getting a fair shake.
That's you have put out more information than I've ever read before.
Good, good, good. It's really important. We weren't connected to the veteran community anymore when I found this information, and I thought, oh, holy crap, I have to somehow get this out. So I self-published my book and put it on Amazon, and thought, well, maybe somebody will do something about it someday. We'll find this book, but I don't have any money to advertise or anything. And then started talking to people on Facebook, and one thing led to another. And so now everyone should go to the website agentorangeInPanama.com and register your diseases if you're a veteran or a civilian and you lived in Panama, because I do think that there's a lot of diseases that haven't been found yet. I download them into an Excel spreadsheet so that if the Congress or anybody ever wants to see how many people are injured, I'll have that information, or to contact, those people that register. That's what should happen if the VA were to put Panama on the list, would be to open up a registry to see, okay, is there anybody from Panama that's injured, and what kind of injuries do they have? And since they're not doing it, I put up a registry myself on my website. So please partake of that and get that up there. And I also have right under there, there's a subcategory called data for the veterans and data for the civilians. And so then I put up a little graph of how many people have responded. And so far, I think there's 148 people. And I know there's thousands of you out there, and many of you are suffering in silence. Even if you've already won, long ago or something, put your information up there, because those numbers mean something. So we can show the Congress that there are a lot of Panama veterans that are hurting and need help, because they don't hear from us. And so they don't think that we don't exist, but they don't hear from us because we're not allowed to be heard. So we're in a catch-22. So what do? So that's why, I have the website. So I blog about my evidence. You can download the documents there. You can download the 152 pages of shipment records to submit with your claims. If you see something or have a question, you can contact me and ask. I'll answer to the best of my ability. I'm not a legal person. I have worked with a couple of attorneys, and I studied to be a VSO, but I didn't become a VSO. And James, I didn't know that you had to be a veteran to be a VSO, and I am not a veteran.
Well, no, for state of Colorado, if you're going to be a county VSO, it requires you to be a veteran. Well, okay, I talked about being a VSO, but I work for Colorado Department of Veterans Affairs and the VSO for Cheyenne County, Colorado. But we have got reorganized, and if a veteran comes into one of our offices, we do the best we can help them. And if the local VSO can't help him, he can make phone calls around to either the regional or, call a fellow VSO for information. And it's kind of a network thing, but I can see it really taking off. We're actually out beating the bushes trying to find veterans. In fact, today at dinner time, I finally captured a veteran I've been after for last month. He's a veteran at Thailand. He was an MP over there in 68 and 69. And I got talking to him, and he just told me, he says, well, I didn't think I was entitled to anything. And, he's had a heart attack 20 years ago, and now he has a pacemaker, and also one of them things that automatically shocks his heart to keep it going. And I told him, I said, now these things, way I understand the PACT Act and how the VA rates stuff, is actually fairly big ticket items. Most, kind of sad, most veterans have it in their head that's for everybody else but them. And you have to convince them that that's why we're out there, and that's why the VA is out there, supposedly to help you. I think because of our military training, you just didn't ask for it.
Now, you were also telling me that after you get denied from the regional level, after getting help through your VSO, there's another level of VSOs that can appeal the process. So you don't have to use an attorney. Is that right?
Oh, yeah. You don't have to use an attorney. We'll help them. And we have people in the Denver office that actually handles appeals. Basically, we're trying to reach out to the veteran because a lot of veterans don't have money. And the lawyers, well, they'll help the veteran, but they're, let's put it this way, they want 20, 30% when it's settled. And actually, we kind of resent it.
Okay, I
the veteran needs.
Yeah, well, that's really good information to know. This is really important, James. The phone number you gave out to the veterans so that they could call, the fact that you're there and you're educated about Panama and you can help Panama veterans in Colorado. So if you're in Colorado and you're a Panama veteran, go see James. And also the fact that appeals can go up through the VSO office, so you don't have to, go look for an attorney.
Yeah.
Find out if you where you're at in your claim. Call this number, find out where your claim is. If you have a claim, if you don't have a claim, get a claim in for Panama, because I don't know if Panama will ever be presumptive. I hope so, and I'm told that it should be by many people, but I sound like a broken record for 8 years now. The evidence is clear. So what are they waiting for? For us all to be dead, deny until we die.
Yeah. Oh, also I want to point out that, if a veteran comes in to speak to one of our VSOs, we want the VSOs educated. So when the veteran comes in, he knows he is not alone, that we're aware of this problem, the exposure and, the diseases and stuff he has. I think a lot of Panama vets just figure that there's nothing out there for them.
It's because no one knows about Panama. It's a hidden secret. I have tried not to keep it a secret, but it's a hidden secret. So we're going to get it done. So I'm really happy to know you're a VSO, that you have skin in the game, and you can help the Panama veterans in your area.
Well, it don't matter if there's how many veterans there are was down there. Just one, if he's been poisoned by this crap, he deserves benefits.
Sure does.
It's sad that the VA goes by numbers, and I believe that the VA keeps track of everything, all claims, and they would see that there's more and more numbers of claims coming in on Panama, even if they're denying them. I'm sure they're keeping track of that stuff.
And that's what we need. We need a lot of claims going in so we get their attention. Because if we are just blocked and told, don't bother to file, then they'll never see our claims. So we need our claims going forward to the VA so we can wake them up.
Yeah, because, the government has a tendency to kind of has a routine, like in Vietnam, first they said, nah, it isn't a problem. Then when they finally admitted there was a problem, then they limit it to like certain areas. And then they can't hide that. And finally they just have to expand incrementally. And now you got the Blue Water Navy and the Brown Water Navy, and you got, now you got Thailand, parts of Cambodia, Guam, and I think several other places. But the only reason that happened is that veterans were filing claims and complaining to their congressmen. But it's really disappointing on the PACT Act that they took Panama away from them. And now we're working towards something like just individually for Panama, isn't it?
Right, we are. We had the HR 5026 introduced last Congress, and we need it reintroduced this Congress. And I thought that we had a promise to get that done, but it hasn't been done yet. So we all need to ask our reps to get that done, to reintroduce HR 5026. We want the wording to be the same. We don't want to change anything.
I want to talk about some of the things on your videos. You got some veterans on there. I can't think of his name, Terry or something, who actually is loading them barrels up and deliver them, around, the zone. And, he's talking about how he'd get it on them, and, they told him, oh, you could take a bath in it. What amazes me, the same lie is put out by these farmers telling me, said, I can take a bath in like glyphosate. It ain't going to hurt me. And you try to tell them, says, that's a lie. They aren't going to take a bath in it, but, they want to be convinced that they are causing no harm. And I think, in Panama, guys were spraying it or even delivering it, like to think they weren't causing any harm.
Yes, they certainly didn't give them any kind of gear to wear or anything. In fact, most of them were taking their shirts off because it was so hot in Panama and spilling it on themselves. And that interview, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he also said that, they're 20 something and they're horsing around like 20 somethings do, and they're spraying it on each other. And, the lieutenant there or whoever was in charge said, you might want to, go shower, and so we'll shower later, and, no big deal.
Well, that's another question I wanted to ask is, that one guy who had the big cancerous growth on his cheek. Now, he was an officer down there. But what I want to know is where are officers? I mean, our officers have to be aware of this problem. I mean, probably a bunch of them are older and they died, but some of the younger ones, nobody seems to be standing up.
I don't get it either. I've met a few of them. There was a retired lieutenant colonel. He went and talked to his representative, and it didn't go anywhere. I haven't met any, higher up officers, but you're right. I think the whole problem is they're not on Facebook and they don't know anything about the evidence. So hopefully they'll go to my website and check it out and say, hey, there's something here. So we could do something with this. We could help Panama. That would be great.
Yeah, I'm just surprised that there isn't more officers, But looking at our ages, probably officers who are major and above, most of them are dead and gone, I think.
Could very well
And,
be, right.
and lieutenants are about like lower enlisted men. They just only know so much.
Right, right. Yeah, I think you're right. And we do need help. And so I think we need to help ourselves. And so, by organizing, we will figure it out, what works and what doesn't work.
Well, I was talking to one VSO, and he's probably a very respected one. He used to be he's retired Coast Guard, but he is also a retired school principal. And he does 2 counties. And I was out talking to him about it this morning, and his attitude is, if the VA is not authorized to do this, they will not do it. So we have to file claims and make them rule on each one.
That's what we have to do. And that's really sad, but that's exactly what we have to do. So people don't wait to file now. And you have to do it individually, and you were directly exposed to these chemicals. There's lots of chemicals that were down there that I have documents of. They're in my book. They're on my blog. Because there was a lot of stuff down there that we were exposed to all at once, which is way worse than being exposed to one chemical at a time.
Yeah, kind of like polypharmacy. You mix them and it becomes worse.
Exactly. And that's what they found out about the 2,4-D and 2,4,5-T with all the different esters and things in it, made it more potent. And so they tried to back off and write another, procurement specification in 1968 to make it closer to 0.5 parts per million versus the 30 to 50 that purple was. And purple and orange, the nomenclature exactly the same, 2,4-D and 2,4,5-T. So did we always get purple? Did we get orange and purple? We don't know, and they won't tell us.
Well, also I wanted to mention about talking about dioxin. The big thing is about that train wreck in Ohio. They put it on fire on purpose, what I've read, and it's giving off all sorts of chemicals.
And people are getting sick
right away. It's dioxins. They're talking about dioxins, and now, I've read on your websites and stuff, a dioxin has a life of at least 100 years. Well, they're talking about even longer than that, on this train wreck.
I don't understand that whole deal, they should have evacuated the people and put dams up so the stuff couldn't leak anywhere else, and try to remove it in a different manner, sucking it up or something, not exploding it. Panama should be, in my opinion, my personal opinion of 8 years of research, should be like Vietnam. Boots on the ground. You were there 1 minute and you have a disease on their list that's bothering you today. I've heard some veterans, might have had cancer in the past, but it's not bothering them now, so they get nothing. Is that true?
Yeah, if you have cancer, first of all, it has to be related to, there has to be a nexus to your service. Well, even if you develop cancer, and like I was telling you earlier, I had a friend who had 3 different cancers, and they got them all under remission, and we waited 1.5 years, and then they come back and said, yep, it's service connected, but you get nothing. Well, another cancer come back about a year or so, and actually it's a terminal diagnosis. Well, they give them 100%. We can put in to be expedited because of the circumstances, and he got moved up to 100% within about 2 or 3 months. And he's getting treatment, but if it goes into remission, they'll give him, after it goes in remission, they give him 6 months, if I remember right. And then he goes back down to wherever he was. He is at 50%. But, usually they don't hand out terminal diagnosis unless it's terminal.
It's very sad the way they treat our veterans.
Like I was telling you earlier, it don't matter if just one veteran is sick from them chemicals. He is entitled, as far as I'm concerned, he is entitled to benefits.
Right. I agree 100%. Unfortunately, we're not getting due process because when we file and we give them the records, the U.S. Commerce records showing it was shipped there to Panama and used there, they just say, no, that's not the same stuff. So I did just make a video on my YouTube channel, everyone. So about the Alvin Young and his writings about the in-butyl esters, you might want to check that out because there really is no difference. Dioxin was in every batch and it was unknown how much. And when it's equal and the government can't produce records of what they use there, and we can produce records that it was used there, it should go to the veteran. Right.
The benefit of the doubt should go to the veteran.
Right.
And
the veterans are just not getting due process.
Right. And, the VA is supposed to assist the veteran. But in the case of Panama, they don't assist you. All they tell you is it wasn't there. Or that's what I was told. And how do you get past that?
I'm not sure, that's why I made my website, to be able to share my research so that it could help people see it for what it is. And
I was impressed with the information you put out there, the research you done. And I bought a copy of your book. I've got about 20 pages left to read, but you spend a lot of time researching.
Yeah, I'm crazy. I just couldn't believe that. I couldn't believe what they were telling me because it's not true. It is true that it was there, and I don't know why they are telling us differently, but it is misinformation by the government and on the backs of veterans. And we can't take no for an answer, and we all need to gather together and get this done, because if we don't get it done this Congress, we'll have to start over again. And we need Congress's help to make the VA secretary to finish the job and to put us in the CFR so that we are presumptive. And so then it will make it a lot easier for veterans to apply. A lot of veterans are waiting until Panama becomes presumptive. And I don't know what the rules will be with the VA. They can make them anything they want. With Guam and Thailand, they made it effective in October of 2022. So, but those people who already were in the legacy program had applied long ago, years ago, they will be backdated, I think, if they were already in the system and in the appeals process. That's what my understanding is. But the VA can make their own rules, so it doesn't matter what we say.